Okay, it is the 24th of March. It's Wednesday morning, and we're doing something called concentration molarity. Now, when you did concentration earlier on, and you did mass per volume, volume per volume, mass per mass, which are called percent concentrations. You also did parts per million. Now, what's different about this is it uses moles. And moles is the universal language of chemistry. So if you're going to mix two chemicals together, you need to know how many moles or numbers of those chemicals you have in solution. So if you work in a lab, this is used in labs all over the world every day. Every single lab uses this. It's so important to be able to determine molarity. So I have the two formulas written down, what you need. Concentration equals moles over volume, and moles equals mass over molar mass. These are married formulas. They always work together. You use the moles from one formula to put information in the other formula, because you'll notice that N, or moles, is in both formulas. Also notice that you've had this formula before. N equals N, M over MM. In a video, I solved two problems using this. You have a worksheet to work on here, and you have an activity. So this activity is embedded right in the OneNote. Let's take a look at how this activity works. The first thing I'm going to say is click on the solutions value, and then I would set my volume to a number that you want to use. So I'm going to go with 0.5 of a liter. What I'm going to then do is I'm going to take my solute. So I pick my solutes out of this list. So for example, let's do the gold 3 chloride here and see what happens. So let's start adding some of this stuff in. Notice how the solution's getting darker and darker and darker. That's because you're adding more of this material in. Okay. I didn't reach saturation, and you might not know what that means, but we're going to reset our volume and decrease our volume and see if we can get to saturation and see if you can see what saturation looks like. So I'm going to go down to, I'm going to try and get down to 0.25. I'm close, so I'll try this again. Okay. How do you know when you're saturated? Saturated means no more salt will dissolve. So what I would now do is go down to my chart, and it doesn't have the gold chloride in it, but if it did, I would record the color as yellow. I would record my moles and my volume. When I hit saturation, I would divide my moles by my liters to get my maximum concentration, and then I would get my ratio. So I would divide this column by this column to get my ratio. So they've got a bunch of chemicals there. Not all of them will saturate. So for some of them, it'll be not available because they'll never reach saturation. Okay, so if you can't get saturation, lower your volume down, and that will help you to get it more saturated. If your volume's high, it's harder to get that saturation. You will put that in the PHET molarity Dropbox. Once you have that information, take a picture of it, upload it, get her in the Dropbox.